Abducted by aliens, profiting from the word. Next on So What? Ooh.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Hi, I'm Don Waite.
And I'm Chris Dorman.
And welcome back to So What, Chris. I'm so excited that ever since I got abducted by those aliens in Roswell there.
What?
Oh, no. You know, every time I turn on the AM radio, if I get just the right frequency and I get it next to my head, I can get their voices through that little filling in the back of my mouth on the left side here. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's really so interesting, Don.
Fascinating.
And wow, I never knew that about you. Wow.
So very alien of me.
Oh my gosh. As you know, this series is based on A.W. Pink's book, Profiting from the Word.
Yeah.
And for the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at his chapter, The Scriptures and the World. And we've seen how the world, how we can be like that seed among the thorns, and how the cares of this life really choke us and make us unfruitful, and how really damaging it is to our personal faith and our witness to the world, right? Carnality, worldliness, our love for this world, when the Scriptures are really clear that we can't love the world and love Christ. World meaning this system, this world and its systems apart from God. We can't love God and the world at the same time. Can't. We got to hate the world. We have to hate the world.
And so, Chris, we are called to be aliens. And in fact, we're referred to as aliens.
We are to be aliens. That's right. That's right.
We need our souls to be abducted, if you will, right, and brought into the presence of God. I mean, for real, right?
Yeah.
And we see that throughout all of the epistles in the New Testament, that the apostles were bent on keeping our minds on heaven and not on this world.
And so, we've been talking about worldliness and its effects.
Yep.
Don thought it would be a good idea if we talk about how we combat carnality, how we combat worldliness, and it's a good idea, Don. So how do we do that? What do the Scriptures teach us about how to combat worldliness? What do we do? Where do we put our minds?
Well, I would love to explain it with my own words, but I think it'd be better to hear what the Lord has to say about it through his apostles.
That's right.
So in 1 Peter, Peter tells us right out of the gate, he tells his readers, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, unfading, kept in heaven for you, who by God's power are being guarded through faith for your salvation, ready to be revealed in the last time."
And what's the consequence of that? What do you do with that thought? He says, "Therefore prepare your minds for action. Be self-controlled. Set your hope fully on the grace to be given you when Jesus Christ is revealed. As obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. But just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. Be holy, because I am holy. Since you call on a Father who judges each man's work impartially, live your lives as strangers here in reverent fear." Now, do you see the constant calling back of the mind to think about heaven, to think about the return of Christ, or to think about our going to him and leaving this earth upon our passing, to be away from the bodies, to be in the presence of the Lord, the impetus to holiness, the impetus to holy living, the impetus to bring glory to Christ in this life is thinking of the next one.
Man, see, Peter had a vision of God that was so much greater than the here and now.
Yes.
And that's what he says is driving you to be holy even as he is holy.
Yes.
To live a life that is pleasing to God.
Amen.
Because this is not my home.
That's right.
But it wasn't just him, right? Paul had plenty to say about this.
Yes.
And when he talked to the Christians in Colossae, he said, "If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on the things of the earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory." And what's the response to that, Chris? "Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you." And he goes into the laundry list: sexual immorality, and covetousness, and evil passions, and evil desires. How do I put to death those things that are in my body that are vile? By setting my mind on things that are above.
By setting your mind on eternal things, right? But not just Paul, not just Peter. John had something to say about that as well in 1 John chapter 3.
Yeah.
How great is the love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know him. Dear friends, now we are children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when he appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself, just as he is pure. That's right, John is saying as you contemplate heaven, this brings purity to your life. Why? Think about it. Friends, think about it, okay? Think about this. Listen. When I was a kid, when I was in high school in September of 1980,
You're
okay,
old, man.
then President Jimmy Carter made a stop in my hometown at my high school to speak. He was campaigning for his re-election, okay? All right. Well, 2 weeks before he got there, there was Secret Service all throughout the school with dogs every day, sniffing for bombs, questioning students, doing all this kind of stuff. Background checks done on all the teachers, okay? Serious stuff. My brother would walk through this campus. He got stopped twice by the Secret Service. He thought it was just so cool. I remember snipers being on the roof of the school. I remember helicopters circling overhead. For those of you in LA, the 405 freeway was shut down from LAX to Torrance. So only the presidential motorcade was on the highway. Okay?
How long did it take him to get there?
It took 14 minutes exactly to go from LAX to North Torrance High School. Okay, it's like ridiculous. You could never do that, right? You could never do that. The president was on the ground. He was in Torrance for 90 minutes. They spent 2 weeks preparing the school. You would not believe this communication system was set up. This was before cell phones and all that stuff. So this big, huge satellite was set up so that he would have real-time communications with anywhere in the world during that 90 minutes he was there. There were enormous, extraordinary preparations taken for everything to be just right for the president's appearance. All of that preparation went in for that little moment in time. How, as I thought about that, as I was hearkened back to that moment in time, I thought, how should I be preparing for eternity? Well, first I can do it by contemplating eternity.
Yeah.
I could be thinking about eternity.
Right.
And that, in turn, will change how I live. And it is, as I am thinking about that, it is changing how I live. It's funny, just how the word says it.
Right. And let that consume your heart and your mind and be the primary focus of your life. I mean, Chris, think about this. Going back to your story, what do you think was going through the mind of your principal of North High School in Torrance for the 2 weeks preceding? Do you think anything really captured their attention more than getting ready for the president to be in their school?
Nope.
I mean, that would have been every waking hour.
Nope.
And they probably had a lot of waking hours. I bet you they didn't even sleep all that much because they had anticipation of what was to come.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Everything you did was with that in mind. What am I going to do to be prepared for that?
Exactly. Exactly, Don.
Right?
That's exactly right. And friends, as I have been contemplating heaven, I'm becoming weaned from the world. The turmoil that's taking place right now. I have to tell you, friends, there was a time when I would have been just as wrapped up in it as many of our peers are, as our contemporaries are, as our other brothers and sisters are. I'd be just as consumed and just as angry and frustrated and frightened and everything else. But God has been doing a work in me. And he's been showing me that, this is not my home. And I have greater and more lasting, eternal possessions. And that I should be working for those and not for those of this world. And I can feel myself being weaned from all of this and how I can just turn it off. Oh, they're saying this person's on the left and this person on the right and this person's an idiot and this person's a moron. This person hates the country. This person loves the country. This is a true patriot. No, you're not a true patriot. I just turn it off. I just turn it off. I just turn it off and I give thanks and praise to God that I'm here and that I belong to him and that he's preparing me for eternity. And as he's preparing me for eternity, I can be of better use to him down here. Right? Last week's message, no earthly good. Do you want to be earthly good? Then be otherworldly.
You know what, Chris, you made me think. I don't know why my mind went here, but we did a podcast a long time ago when we were talking about our identity in Christ, right? Who am I really, right? That I belong to him. And one of those things that we identified in the Scripture is that we are an ambassador.
Oh, yeah.
My citizenship is somewhere else. And he's put me here for a period of time, and I represent his interests here in this foreign land.
That's right. That's
Right? And so he's got a purpose for me, not just to be holy unto him, but holy in the presence of others and drawing their eyes and their attention back to my homeland. You know, I was thinking again, when Peter says here again in verse 13 in chapter 1, he says, therefore preparing your minds for action. Some English renderings are gird yourself. Gird up your loins. And the idea was that the guys, these Roman soldiers, they would, pull up all this stuff that would encumber their ability to run into the battle, right? And pull that up. Gird yourself up so that you're ready for battle and to get into it, right? How do we prepare ourselves, Chris? That's your point, is have those meditations of heaven, right? To be ready. Man, I'm excited.
I've been a Christian for a really long time, and not once have I listened to a sermon series or a series of Bible studies or anything that encouraged contemplation of heaven. I've never experienced that. I wonder if you have. Don, have you?
No.
Between us, we've been Christians over 60 years, okay? And not in the same churches and all that kind of stuff, in different places, different parts of the country, and neither of us have ever experienced that. Have you? I wonder. And I have to tell you, friends, I wonder how much of the angst that we feel and the struggle that we feel, and honestly, the really awful witness a lot of Christians are right now, sadly, is because we have planted down roots here, and this is our home, and this is what's most important, and we must protect it, and we must defend it at all costs, even at the cost, frankly, of our integrity as Christians, of our witness as Christians, even though we think we're standing up for Jesus, as we are hateful and angry and yelling and screaming and fighting with people who have different views than ours. And the truth is, we're not. We're just proving that we're worldly. We're consumed with the world. Do you want to be otherworldly? Do you?
And if you do, and if you pursue that, then what you'll find is increasingly your mind and your heart are going to be drawn toward those things which are eternal.
Yes.
And it will express itself in a life that pursues him, and honestly, Chris, loves others.
That's right.
And it's otherworldly. It's an agape, otherworldly love that says, I can love those people that are unlovely to us.
If you're really, really otherworldly, what are you going to look like? You're going to look like Jesus.
There you go, man.
You are. You really, really are. You're going to look like Jesus. And how did Jesus treat people?
Right.
Compassionately, patiently, lovingly, gently, right?
We're going to walk as Jesus did.
And isn't that what being a Christian is? Little Christs. That's what we're supposed to be. It is. But so sadly, we're just really, really not always, are we? And how many of us are just really sick of it? Friends, a few months ago, I was sitting on my porch and I was reading, and I was overwhelmed with a sense of dread and personal disappointment and dissatisfaction, and crying out to God, God, why can't I see you? I want more of you. What is wrong with me? What is it, Lord? And in time, he led me to these scriptures. And I began to think about them and really pray about them and read them and seek to memorize them and make them a part of me. And now I'm seeing more and more of him. And I'm seeing more of him in me. In me.
So awesome, man.
Which is just so wondrous and humbling and encouraging that after all these years, I'm not done. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. He's still drawing me out of this world and nearer to himself. Beloved, I want you to experience that too.
That gets, man, it just gets my blood going, man. My heart starts to pump when I hear you say that, Chris, because we do have a living hope.
Yes.
And we do have so much more that God has for us, even here and now, Chris. So we can have hope in the midst of a turmoil.
That's right.
You know what? Look, I don't know where life is going or where this world is going, but it doesn't matter, because I do know that I have a faithful God who knows what he's doing, who is in control, and that I can entrust my life to him. That no matter what the outcome, I can rest in him.
Do you have that hope as an anchor? Do you? I mean, really, that's rock solid, that can't be moved. no matter what is happening around you. And if you don't, do you want that? Then, beloved, take your eyes off this world. Take them off this world. Get them in that word and contemplate heaven. Contemplate your eternity. Contemplate it forever.
So contemplate and wrestle and battle. Let it be a war of the worlds. You know, where that the kingdom of heaven is doing battle against the world here, and we know who will prevail in that.
Absolutely. That's not even a contest.
Right? This isn't about getting the right frequency on my radio. This is about getting my heart in tune with the Lord by being in His Word, being in prayer, and meditating on those realities of heaven.
So if you find yourself, if the last couple of weeks have resonated with you, yeah, I find myself there. What do I do about it? This is what you do about it. I mean, really. Make the Scriptures your home.
I love it.
As you contemplate your eternity, think about those passages that talk about heaven and the certainty of that promise. Okay?
Yeah.
That rock-solid certainty. And you will find yourself living as an alien, as a stranger in a strange land. Because, beloved, this really is not our home. It really isn't. So stop living like it is. Thank you for tuning in, my friends. And I'll talk to you next week.
We'll see you soon.